Hello there and welcome to our program for today, Agri-Biotech and Food Security. One critical issue in the food production chain in Nigeria is food waste and absolute lack of innovative solutions for sustainable food preservation and value addition to our crops. Today's edition of the program will address how biotech can take care of a perennial abnormality in our food production systems. Nigeria loses to waste over 40% of its food production each year. This loss, according to World Bank, accounts for 31% of the country's total land use and also accounts for 5% of its greenhouse gas emissions. Farmers of vegetables, fruits, tomatoes, and other perishables count their losses annually on account of lack of preservation strategies. We have been told that biotechnology can improve the edibility, consistency, and shelf life of food by preventing the growth of unwanted toxin, producing microorganisms naturally present in foods. You will hear more of this when we engage the Director General of Cheddar Science and Technology Complex, SHESCO, Professor Paul Onyenekwe, who will lead conversation on addressing food waste in Nigeria through biotechnology. I am Kirian Umaya and it's good to be here again, and thank you for finding time to join me. As I earlier informed you, with us on the program today is the Director General of SHESCO. SHESCO stands for Cheddar Science and Technology Complex. This is a complex housing one of the most sophisticated laboratories in Africa. He is Professor Paul Onyenekwe. Professor Onyenekwe is actually a professor of food biochemistry, toxicology, and biotechnology. That's, of course, is an indication that we have a round peg in a round hole for today's topic for conversation. Prof, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
We're addressing food waste in the country. And of course, historically speaking, this is not the first time that it has come to the fore, the issue of food wastage or food loss, as the case may be. And this program is interested in the efficacious nature of biotechnology in addressing food waste in Nigeria. But first of all, let us know what constitutes food waste in an agricultural system.
Each time in Nigeria we talk about food production, we talk about food security. Now, when we talk about food security, Nigeria will produce more than enough for us. But what is key is that how much gets to the table. How much gets to the table? You discover that we produce a lot and almost 50%, if not more than that, is lost. Either because they are being transported from one place to the other. Before they reach their destination, half of it is already gone. Because we don't process, they cannot reach off season. They are only available in the market on season. And when you go to the market, you discover that you get 2 baskets for ₦1. But just a month after the off season, you can no longer even buy it. So our major problem is food wastage. And what is food wastage? Any moment when food is being produced and it did not get to the table, and along the way it's wasted. In other words, it's not used for the purpose for which it was produced. And it is not just that. It has impact on the environment because they decay, microorganisms flourish. These microorganisms will now spread and most of them are disease-causing organisms. That's one. That affects also the the greenhouse gases. These are produced. We have that effect. Again, it has also the impact on the environment, because for us to produce more food, we need to clear more land. And the more you clear the land, you have effect on the environment. We are not talking about climate change. These are the causes.
How would biotechnology be applied or adapted to, seek for a change of the narrative? What can be done? Are we going to start from cultivation of BT crops? Is that the starting point? Or are we going to apply any possible science as a result of biotechnology to be able to preserve food? I know that at Shesco here, that we have a gamma irradiation project which I have known for over 10 years now. But I don't know its capacity or whether it's even put into use in the first place, which is also part of a food preservation system that we have here in Shesco. It may not be under your purview, but it is established here. Nigeria has one of it. Now, are we thinking in that direction, or are we believing that biotech can address the situation?
Yeah, definitely biotech is the answer right now. One, like I said, we are going to reduce the acreage, the land cultivated. Because what is important, you cultivate and, you have high yielding varieties of the different crops. For example, you plant beans. Let's use beans. You plant beans, and because it will be infested by one pest or the other, so you have to increase your acreage so as to produce little,
but minimize the amount of damage that you get.
Yes, but when you are sure that you plant hectare and you optimally harvest from that 1 hectare, you don't need to waste your time cultivating more than that 1 hectare. So when you now use a known variety, like the beans, or what people will call the GMO beans. When you cultivate that, you are sure, one, you will reduce the pesticides you are going to use. Two, when you reduce the pesticides, the effect of that pesticides on the environment is also completely reduced. You have better harvest. And not only having better harvest, you can store your grain for a longer time, because the beetle that will eat it up, if it is not this thing, will not infect it. So you now discover that just by planting a particular variety, this improved variety, I call it improved variety, this improved variety of beans, you have eliminated the use of pesticides, you have reduced the acreage you are going to cultivate, you have also reduced the effect on loss during storage. And that's that. For cotton, we all know that because of pests, the cotton farmers ran away from it. But they are happy with the BT cotton available now, because they plant, they can go to sleep.
So that is more reason why biotechnology should be the ultimate for us as we envisage hunger-free Nigeria by the year 2030. Our concern here primarily is to find a way that we can, add value to what we have. Nigeria is blessed with egghead scientists and technologists who can carry out any form of research in Nigeria and across the globe. But the important thing is for us to believe also that there is a time to change. There's a time society, changes, with contemporary issues or circumstances happening around. So the issue of people talking down on biotech should not be, encouraged. So I'm still with the Director General of Shedder Science and the Technology Complex. So, Professor Oneko, we are talking about food security here. And I know that 3 crops may have been BT commercialized, if you like. They're just small if you compare that with the crops that make up the staple food items that we have in Nigeria. We have yam, cassava, of course maize now. I know something is being done on maize presently that in due course the maize, the BT maize will be introduced to Nigerians. That's about 2 or 3 as case may be. Now we are trying to address food security. Can we expand the horizon of this research? Because I know that the gestation period to get some of these to get around some of this research it takes a long period of time. All right, is it necessary or possible to also borrow technology or kind of do kind of a technology transfer to speed up, what we can do to ramp up agricultural activities?
These days, it may not just be the transformation of the plant. There could be also other methods. Now, you don't need a farm to even plant your yam. You can just use, you don't need even
waste bags.
You can use waste bags.
Buckets, rubber buckets, and all of that.
Yes. You can even use no soil. The hydroponic. You are not using soil.
So come again, you're not using soil.
Yes.
Hydroponic, what does that mean?
Hydro, water.
Okay.
In that case, you have the nutrients.
Yes.
Already.
Is it going to be a manure kind of nutrient or is it a chemical?
No, it can be chemical. You just have a system so that from time to time, your plant will have contact with the solution containing the nutrients. And then it will, at the time it comes up, your plant will absorb the nutrients from the liquid and then continue growing. And that is why in biotech here in Shesco, we have what you call bioreactor. In our bioreactor, what do? We just multiply plants using a system, what you call temporary immersion bioreactor. Temporary immersion, that means temporarily you immerse it in the solution and you leave it. During this short period, you immerse it in the solution, it will absorb the nutrients, take up nutrients from the liquid, and then it continues to grow. So with this, instead of farming now to be horizontal, it's becoming vertical.
Yes.
It's becoming vertical. So a very small place you have, you can just simply arrange that.
Yes.
And then you see, you have your this in vertical. So no longer horizontal. So with the small plot of land you have, your backyard, whether you are living in the city, you are living in the rural area.
Yes, does such crops that will come from this system you're talking about now, will they have a longer shelf period in terms of storage.
One good thing is that at least the infestation, their contact with so many microorganisms is reduced. Because if you check, for example, you are planting tomatoes and you are using cow dung, you are using chicken droppings,
Yes.
semolina, name it, E. coli. These things are already there, and you are using it, and the tomatoes is having contact with these feces.
And they will in turn affect the final produce of the tomato plant.
With all these organisms, and so if there is any small scratch on it, from there it's done.
All right, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, the conversation continues. This is introducing a new TV series on agricultural biotechnology, one of the most complex and accurate scientific discoveries designed to provide sustainable food security for humanity. In the light of rapid population growth, Agri-Biotech must be understood, accepted, and embraced to realize its full potentialities. Nigerian agriculture is vulnerable to climate change with associated occurrences, reducing agricultural production across the nation. But biotech offers new tools for increasing agricultural productivity and protection of food crops. And from farmers, testimonies abound on the benefits of genetically modified crops. In this TV series, we shall be dissecting issues surrounding Agri-Biotech with experts on its understanding, acceptability, and application, week in, week out. Join me, Kirian Umayo, on our show, Agri-Biotech and Food Security. Be my guest, Tuesdays, 7:30 p.m. on NTA International. Brought to you by OFAB Nigeria under the auspices of NAFDA. I'm glad you're still with us watching Agri-Biotechnology and Food Security. And our conversation today is centered on biotech capacity in food preservation. Every year, farmers count their losses based on not having the capacity to preserve their produce. And again, because of the contents of such items in terms of tomatoes that Professor Onyenekwe talked about, which made contact with certain organisms while growing, and consequently to affect the produce, and eventually when you store them for a short period of time, they will perish. And that happens also with other perishable items of vegetables, onions and others, especially fruits. Right. So, sir, what can be done in the immediate to begin to provide assistance to farmers?
Yeah, it's unfortunate we have just very few cottage industries in Nigeria. In most countries, most of these things are carried out by cottage industries. And some of these cottage industries, some of them are even up to 100 years old, moving from one generation of a family to another generation. And they carry it on. But we have that problem in Nigeria. However, we have not lost hope. Now, many people have started doing that. The issue at times is the kind of cultural behavior. I recall when I was a consultant to UNICEF, and we were looking at how to use mango as a supplement, knowing fully well that mango is rich in carotenoid. And we were able to find a system where you can dry mango, and then after the drying, you can then later use it. Even if you want mango juice, you simply need to just boil water, just dip it into water for about a few seconds, and then you you blend it, you still have your fresh mango juice. However, people look down on that, and there's no company to take it up. In most universities, especially undergraduate projects, they work on some of these preservatives, some of these processing methods, and they have them. Now, the take-up is one of the issues we have in the country. People are not ready to take up this because they look at the long-term incubation. Somebody will prefer to go to China and import tomato puree, come here, and then package it and call it his own. Go to somewhere, buy mango concentrate, come here, mix it up, and then sell. But we can do some of these things in the country. We can do them. So, because they look at it, the incubation period. Yes, when you start, you may have to retouch this machine here, retouch this machine here. It may take you a little time for you to start from the pilot plant and now have the real plant. So that incubation period is what people run away from. So they look at it, that is time wasting, that it's better for them to go to across the border and pick and buy and come back home. But the moment we're able to realize some of these things, there is this innovation center along the airport by Nigerian Space Agency, being run by Raw Material Research and Development Council. So when you go there, you can see a lot of pilot plants coming up. And that's one very wonderful thing that they are doing. So you'll find out some of the research projects that has to do with raw material. You have all these common shea butter, name it, so many of these. Now, if industrialists can go there and look at those pilot plants, they may not be perfect. Look at those pilot plants and pick and then develop it further. They have billion naira industry coming up. And above all, it will provide job. It will cascade down to provide job. The farmers will smile because they have ready market for their produce, and definitely their dependents will also benefit. And above all, the security of Nigeria.
Exactly. Now, let's talk a bit about the misconception that many people have concerning biotechnology, especially agricultural biotechnology. There are people who are anti-biotech, who have been given some reasons for Nigeria not to partake in it.
Yeah, by coincidence, I chaired most of the committees that approved some of the GMOs in Nigeria, especially the first ones that we have, except probably in the last 2 years. I've been chairing the committee. I didn't see anything. Anybody who's a scientist, that we have been talking about genetic improvement. Let me give a very common example when I was growing up. Your parents will see a dog in somebody's house. They like the features. They like the behavior of the dog. Or the dog is big, and their own is small. Probably their own is also a male one. And that family has a male one, and their own is female. You find out that at the heat period of your female dog, they will tell you to take the dog to that family, or they will go and hire that male dog. And the same thing happened to cow, to sheep. They will say, oh, that goat gives birth two each time. So they go to the offspring and they are to mate, and that is genetic improvement. The same thing. Farmers, what do farmers do? Each year they plant. They will look for, let us take maize. They will see the one that produced the best cob. They will harvest that one and keep it for planting. They are doing selection. They are doing selection. We now feel that, okay, this gene that makes this thing behave this way is available somewhere. And instead of taking the whole, like in conventional plant breeding, you look at the ones you like this one, you like this one, you go and take the pollen from this and rub it on this one, and then after you do selection, the ones that met your target, and then you now do what they call back crossing. But in this case, you know the gene of interest. You want the maize to be yellow. A peculiar kind of yellow.
We'd like to thank Professor Paul Onyenekwe. Professor Onyenekwe, of course, is the Director General of CHESCO, Cheddar Science and Technology Complex. We thank him for sharing his thoughts and, of course, his time with us. Thank you, Prof. It's been very interesting revelations, the efficacy of agri-biotechnology in addressing food waste, or what is now referred to as FCW, food loss and waste. From all indications put forward by Professor Onyenekwe, it's critical and crystal clear that when fully adopted, agri-biotech would improve the nation's capacity in attaining food sufficiency with tweaks of sustainability. That's our program for today. We appreciate your time, and please come again next week when we bring you more on agri-biotech and food security. Goodbye.